Podcasting in the corner of Dr. Doom's basement. But he's our homie, so we never ever pay rent. It's N to the E to the R, Nerdtopia. Like a plasma cannon, man, you know we're steady smoking ya. Comics, books, movies, and video games are our claim to fame and recognition of name. We've changed the reign, but kept it the same. And we hope to gain acclaim from time of the game. We're coming at you, reaping from Walking Dead. And you know we got pissed when the Redding ran red. A plethora of guests, even more than Bill and Ted. The ratings of the Lost are gonna go to our head. It's dangerous to go alone, your iPod should have us. And superheroes got a back and that you can trust. We're blowing up crazy large like our name was Alderaan. So let's give a hand to Doolin, cause his mic is on. Word.
What's happening, Nerdtopians? I'm Doolin Dalton. Welcome to Nerdtopia. Let me go ahead and jump right into it. Something I wanted to talk about today. Going back a couple years now, I recall sometime back in 2011, having flipped on the news one night and hearing the story of a mysterious masked man who thwarted a would-be car thief in the city of Seattle.
Down inside between the window here and the rubber strip.
Dan was calling 911, but help flew in before he finished dialing.
From the right, this guy comes dashing in, just wearing this skin-tight rubber black and golden suit, and starts chasing him away.
The man went by the alias Phoenix Jones, and he was a self-proclaimed superhero. Now, I grew up reading comic books. As a child, my bedroom was consistently littered with books that featured the tales of Spider-Man, the X-Men, Batman, the Punisher, and Spawn, to name a few. I wasn't a confused child. I always knew that these were stories of fantasy, and they could never truly happen in real life. Could they? I was instantly intrigued by this man. I mean, who was he? Did he have a family? What could have possibly possessed him to take to the streets wearing a mask and costume, putting himself at risk? As I followed his story on news and the social media, I became acutely aware of the fact that Phoenix Jones was not the only one. More and more of these real-life superheroes began to surface. So, who were they? Was this all a big publicity stunt? And after all these years, was life finally imitating art? There are people in this world that would argue that they're not heroes, but glory seekers, and that the real heroes are our police officers, our firefighters, our rescue workers, our military. And I would absolutely agree to that fact. However, not to take anything away from what those people do, but these men and women receive no pay for what they do. When I saw that he had placed himself out there on social media, I invited him to join my group on Facebook, Nerdtopia, and I threw a line of communication out there. Amazingly, he talked to me. He was incredibly down to earth, and like me, was, well, a bit of a nerd. All right, man, so 3 years ago, I sat down via Messenger with this man right here and recorded with him an episode of my old podcast, Nerdtopia Cast. So the two of us talked about what it was like to receive that kind of attention from the media, the international attention. The guy just blew up overnight. A day in the life of what it's like to be a real-life superhero. And then we kind of jumped on some lighter topics. We talked about the Avengers, comic books, and everything in between. And just a really cool guy. Nerdtopian Nation, please welcome for the first time back in 3 years, Mr. Ben Foder, a.k.a. Phoenix Jones. Phoenix, how the hell have you been, man? Welcome back.
Holy crap, it's been 3 years?
Can you believe that? No, it was almost 3 years ago. It was like spring of 2012 when we sat down and did this the first time.
Holy crap, I can't believe it's been that long. I mean, I've been fighting crime for going on 5 years.
It really has been that long, man. It's crazy. I remember the first time I ever saw you on the news was 2010, 2011, sometime in there. And
yeah,
it's
man, I really thought I'd be dead by now. I was shocked on this point.
You're surprising a lot of folks, apparently, from what I hear on the news. They're like, man, that guy's still doing that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You think that normally when you get a bad idea, you have a bunch of friends around you who are like, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. But all my friends were like, oh, I want in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, your supportive friends were like, hey, that sounds cool. Let me do that too.
Exactly.
So, of course, I know a lot of these things, but for some of the people out there, this might be the first they've ever heard of you. So, I might kind of go back on some of that stuff that we talked about like 3 years ago. So I'm sure you get asked the questions all the time. So at this point, it's just kind of like second nature to you to talk about some of this stuff. But
yeah, yes and no. It's different because normally I've got to be sort of like diplomatic in my answers, right? But with you, I sort of feel like we know each other enough, and if I want to say something stupid, I can just say it.
Exactly.
So it's a little different. It's kind of funner because I don't have to worry about what I'm going to say.
Yeah. We're just sitting there chatting. I'm not a news anchor or anything, and I've seen a lot of the newscasts you've done where you've had to like really sit there and think about what would be the proper response. But no, man, just chill. Don't worry. We're just having a conversation, man. That's all it is. But so for those of just give us a basic rundown for the people listening. They don't know what you do. Who is Phoenix Jones?
All right. I guess 5 years ago now, I got together with a couple of my buddies, first by myself, I guess, put together a bulletproof suit and went out and decided I was going to actually fight crime. And since then, I've arrested somewhere around 300, 350 people for various crimes, all the way from attempted murder down to last weekend's indecent exposure.
I don't think I heard about that. Is that a story we need to talk about?
Oh, dude, the helicopter dick guy.
Oh my God, really? You're not making that up.
This guy's outside a club.
Yeah.
He's getting kicked out for being drunk. He decides he's going to punch the bouncer. Once he punches the bouncer,
that's always a good move.
Right. Every time I'm going to get kicked out of the club, first thing I do is sock a bouncer. So then he pushes this girl over, pulls his junk out, steps over the top of her, starts screaming helicopter dick, and swinging his junk into like a giant meat circle. It was terrible.
I don't think I've ever heard the words meat and circle used together in the same sentence until just now.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. So I'm sitting there. I'm not sure exactly what to do. And before I know it, I'm doing something my mom used to do whenever we do something dumb. And I've got this criminal by the ear. And I'm dragging him down the street talking about how inappropriate he is.
Good enough for mama, good enough
for
The
video's online. It's Phoenix Jones versus
Helicopter Dick.
Versus Helicopter Dick.
I think that might be the most formidable supervillain you've faced yet.
On an honest statement, the only supervillain that I've ever faced that was a legitimate supervillain was Arsonic. Other than that, there hasn't been too many.
Who is Arsonic?
He's a guy who used to go around literally lighting arson fires.
Holy shit!
And running away.
Was that just his MO? He just dug fire?
I guess so. He lit a bunch of fires. One day we caught a glimpse of what he looked like, and he was wearing a bowling shirt with flames on the bottom. And once I called the police and sent the APB, and they had him in like 20 minutes.
Oh wow!
But he did get away. He burned like 6 houses or something like that.
Holy shit, dude! Crazy.
It was insane. He's one of the more real. I mean, because I run into people all the time who pretend to be villains, or Watchmen.
Oh yeah, very well.
Punish me, and then Rorschach drops him down an elevator
like,
shaft.
ew, no. Yeah.
Right. That's pretty much what I get a lot. Like, I get a lot of those guys.
So you and your friends, you got the suits, and you identify as as superheroes, which for anybody who's not been living under a rock, it's a very important part of American mythology. The comic book superhero is an instantly recognizable character.
That's right. Yeah.
And so that's so I mean, people see you and your crew coming a mile away, basically.
Oh, for a good distance, which is part of the thing.
Yeah, that's it. You're not hiding anything. You know what I mean? No. Especially not at this point, since your identity went public a good number of years ago. But
definitely,
yeah. But it's you guys aren't hiding anything. You're recognizable. You walk down the streets, and then and it's like how often a week? How many times a week do you go out and do this? Because I know you have a 9 to 5. You have a kid. You stay pretty busy, and you don't get paid for any of this, right?
No, I still don't get paid. Yeah, nothing. I'm working on that. I've had some advertisement offers to put advertisements on the suit, so maybe I'll end up doing that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: way back when you first decided that this was something you wanted to do, had you ever heard of the Guardian Angels, or thought about maybe joining up with them? Because what they do is pretty much right on par with what you do.
Yeah, I heard about the Guardian Angels. but it was a little bit later. It wasn't like I'd heard about them, right off the gate. I heard about them once I'd already been doing what I was doing. I didn't know about them previous to that,
Right. Well, then let me ask you this, man, and just tell me a story. Whatever with every one of these stories, there's always an origin. And so it's like, how did you go from being just one citizen who said, what law enforcement does isn't enough. We can't always depend on law enforcement to swoop in and save the day. Sometimes the everyman has to step up and take care of that. So what made you decide to go from doing just that to stepping up and using the symbol of a comic book superhero and taking to the streets and hoping to inspire people? What was the big difference that happened between point A and point B?
Well, I think there's two things. I think the first thing is no matter how much you think about it or explain it, there's no logical step between, I'm upset about something and I'm going to go spend $10,000 on bulletproofing and go stop it myself. Right? I mean, there's no way to explain that. I think that's something I've just always wanted to do. And when I finally had a reason to do it, it worked out. But I think at some point in my life, a situation would have occurred where I would have thrown on a suit and got out and fought some crime or jumped off a building dressed as Batman. I mean, the first time I ever went skydiving, I went skydiving in a Superman suit.
Wow.
So it's not it's something.
I'm glad that chute opened up because that would be a nasty, cruel irony for you if it didn't.
Right.
The
worst part of that would have been if I hit the ground and just got paralyzed. Christopher Reeve style.
Oh no!
I said it.
Yeah, too soon. No, that's funny though, man.
Do you know what the opposite of Christopher Reeves is?
I know the answer to this, but I'll let you deliver the punchline.
Christopher Walken.
That's God, I swear to God, you're like one of my friends, dude. Like it's always who can put the worst dig in.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
So, you've been doing this as you were in 2015, I know you've been doing this since about 2010. You were, like 22, 23 when you started this?
Yep, 26 now.
26.
I started when I was 22, yeah.
Wow. And then what part of it, has been the hardest?
That's a weird question. And normally I would answer, just so people don't think I've been lying in my other podcasts, right? The normal answer I give everybody is, well, staying motivated and staying in shape and just being in the right place at the right time. But not really. The hardest part is actually the mental aspect it's had on me over 4 years of doing it.
Right.
For example, I was in bed with my new girlfriend last night. I guess she's not new. She's about a year old, but newer than the Purple Rain everyone's used to.
Right, yeah.
And I don't sleep well. I get up about every 15 minutes or so, some nights with nightmares, and sometimes I sweat and things like that in my sleep. And, I wrote this story on my page about, what had happened. And basically, the day before that, I'd gone to the gym, and I'd been working out and just doing my normal thing. I was pretty sweaty and covered in sweat and stuff. And I went in the locker room, and she had packed my gym bag for me. And I started drying off and toweling off, and I grabbed a shirt out of the bag, and it was a Seattle Fire Department shirt. And it instantly threw me back to the moment I got that shirt. It was before I had the gold and black suit, when I was just patrolling in the spandex with the hat.
Yeah, the fedora. I remember that.
Yeah, I just looked like Count Chocula, just running around in a black tunic fedora.
Right.
But I came across this girl on a stairway who had either been stabbed or shot or something. I can't remember what had hurt her. I don't think I ever knew, but she was bleeding pretty profusely from her stomach. And I called 911, but I didn't know where I was. So I had to pick her up and run to the street corner.
Oh, wow.
And I got there, and the ambulance came, and I was covered in her blood, and it soaked through my spandex shirt at the time.
Right.
And when the ambulance car people came, they gave me a package, and the package had a shirt in it. So I went to a dumpster, and I cleaned myself off. And then after I cleaned myself off, I put the shirt on. And I remember it was the first time I'd ever seen someone really hurt. It was probably a month into patrol, 2 months into patrol. One of the first incidents of me really seeing someone, possibly dying. She turned out to be okay.
Right.
But it was a scary day. And it's stuff like that triggers weird things for me. So I'll go to sleep and have weird nightmares where I end up getting stabbed in the stomach, or instead of carrying a random girl, I'm carrying someone I care about more. And it's weird stuff like that I would say is the hardest.
You gotta be careful, man. That's signs of PTSD, and I imagine it's you do see a little bit, because you see probably a good deal of violence out there, Maybe not every night. There a lot of nights it might be a lot of walking around and high fives, but there's also I've seen the videos. It's not all fun and high fives out there.
Definitely. The funny thing is, I feel like I can't qualify for PTSD. I feel like people who go to a war zone, or New York's 9/11, or I feel like those guys should get that title. I mean, people keep telling me that,
Right.
and you're like the 100th person now to tell me that I might have a form of PTSD.
Right.
So at some point, I'm going to have to look into it. But I feel like I almost don't qualify. Like, I would be embarrassed to go to a PTSD group and sit there, and they'd be like, "What did you do?" And I'd be like, "Well, I walk around Seattle a lot."
I give out high fives, but no, but that's humble, and I respect that. But it could be legit. Just something to think about, man. So you had
for sure. I definitely on there.
So you had your team for a while. And do you still? I know there was kind of like a little bit of a fault. Like, you had your partner. I remember that one time we were running that podcast 3 years ago, and there was a lot of editing. But I got to see you like get on the phone with your boys and call the shots. And you're like, all right, you guys go down this road. We're going to go down this road. We're going to meet at this road at such and such time. And it was pretty cool to like sit there and watch you call the shots and coordinate your team. It was awesome. And then I think there was at some point there was kind of a break down the middle. Like what happened?
Well, I have a different opinion of how to fight crime than a lot of other superheroes.
Okay.
The first one is that I actually fight crime. Like, I look for actual violent areas and go there. Mm-hmm. And then the second difference is that we do everything. We don't just want to stop the altercation. We want to get you in trouble for what you've done.
Right.
If you've done something that should get you in trouble for, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, certain guys want to just it's more about like the Batman effect. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got guys who don't want to, I call it the Batman effect. Okay. They don't want to give their identities to the police. They want to have secret IDs. They want to throw smoke bombs in the city. They want to do just crazy stuff. And I'm like, listen, that will stop this one fight. Yeah. But that crackhead is still standing on 3rd Avenue. Right. Being a crackhead. Yeah.
Art, life can only imitate art so much. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we're in real life, and maybe that could be where some of the split was.
Every once in a while, you get one of these moments that is literally a comic book moment, right? Mm-hmm. But they're far and few between. They're not. I can think of 4 that are just off the top of my head, awesome moments. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, give me one or two. 4? What's that?
Want me to go through my 4 real life superhero moments that have actually like comic book?
Hit me with the life imitating art moments. I'd love to hear it.
All right, first one. I'll go from the coolest to the worst. Okay. Number 1, the demasking in front of the public on a police.
Dude, that was such a Spidey Civil War moment. I mean,
right?
Yes.
Dude, when Spider-Man did it in the Civil War, I was like, you are crazy. You've chosen the wrong side. And then as life has progressed, I now side with Iron Man. These superheroes can't be left unregulated. The government has to crack down on some point because a lot of these guys are just crazy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. I listened to a very, very popular podcast with Kevin Smith, and they were talking about you. With your like right about the time you came out and unmasked, and they said that exactly. They're like, he had to have his Spider-Man moment.
It's true. It was for me. It was really, really funny. And the funniest part was right before I walked out there, mm-hmm. I sat down with Peter Tangen, who's a good friend of mine and a famous movie poster guy from California. He shot the Watchmen posters and all the Batman stuff, and very Hellboy, very well known. Right. And he goes, "You don't know this right now, but you're making history." He goes, "If I could do one thing before you go out of here, here's what it is." And he pulled up his iPhone and he played me the Iron Man scene where he goes, "Yeah, I'm not really the hero type." Okay, well, I guess I'm Iron Man. And I was like, "What is that?" He goes, "They're going to demask you. They're going to tell everyone your name. Don't look like a crazy guy and deny that it's you."
Yeah, you were going public anyway, so at this point you may as well own it, right?
Exactly. And I went out there and I did that. And I remember Pete was sitting in the back and he gave me the thumbs up like, "That was it, buddy. You nailed it," So that's number 1. Right. Okay. Number 2, I'm out on patrol, mm-hmm. and I walk through an alleyway, and a guy turns around, and it's 3 dudes dressed like ninjas.
What?
Yeah,
No,
like
come
straight
on.
up dressed like ninjas.
They have like the black spandex and the masks and all that other good stuff.
It was the black spandex, the masks, and they all had different colored bandanas around their faces, like red, blue, and I think maybe like a white one.
Holy shit!
Right, but it gets better. As I turn, the first guy attacks me, and I just martial arts right through that guy and drop him. The second guy's coming up, and he gets me a little bit and kind of kicks me back, and I fall into a dumpster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like not a dumpster, it's like they're weird. They're like little trash compactors. They're angled sideways in the alleyway. People throw their trash into them. The compactor crushes the trash if they have a key, and then they throw the compacted bag into a bigger bag, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I fell into where the compacted area would be.
Okay.
And I kind of rolled back out, and the guy hit me a couple more times,
Mm-hmm.
and then Midnight Jack comes rolling up next to me, and he goes, Jones, back to back. Literally, we go back to back. And at that point, the police showed up and arrested the guys. And they were trying to break into the restaurant and rob it. And what they had found out is they couldn't go find robbing gear. So they went to a store and had bought ninja outfits because they were cheaper.
It's ninja outfits. You would think it's maybe in like feudal Japan it was a great way to get around without being noticed. But I think the first way to stick out and look suspicious is to walk around on the city streets in a goddamn ninja costume.
For real.
That they belong on World's Dumbest Criminals. But that is freaking funny. Did they have any martial arts experience, or were they just like swinging fists?
The first guy, I beat him up in about 2 punches. Right. I threw a head punch and then a body kick,
right.
And he just crumbled down from the body kick. The second guy caught me when I wasn't looking to my blind side, and I fell in the compactor. And once I was on my side, he kind of chopping kicks like WWE style, like to my stomach, you know?
Right.
And then at that point, Jack had made it because I'm a lot faster than Black.
Plus your entire midsection is armored too, so I don't know what he was expecting to do there.
Yeah, it was pretty foolish. But the thing was, every time I tried to get up to brace myself, because it was all smooth sides in the thing,
Yeah.
I couldn't grab anywhere, so I was kind of stuck on my back there.
Right. Oh.
And he's actually lucky Jack came, because I'd already pulled my taser at that point, so he was about to get tased.
Hey, man. It's non-lethal, so what are you going to do?
Yeah, as I found out during the Ice Bucket Challenge. Let's see.
What happened during the Ice Bucket Challenge? I missed that.
You missed my Ice Bucket?
I didn't see your Ice Bucket Challenge.
All right, well,
did they tase you? Was that like a joke?
Let me finish.
Oh, yeah. Finish your 4.
Then we'll get to Ice Bucket.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
All right, so that's number 2. Number 3, when we were catching our Sonic, I was with Pitch Black, and the police were looking for the arson suspect, and they parked their cop car, right?
Okay, all right.
And we're chasing this guy comes running around the corner, whipping at full speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this fat cop rolls around the corner and sees me and goes, Phoenix, get him. Right? Because he just couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
So I go to turn, and then Pitch Black looks at the cop, and he doesn't run to go help me out. He helps the cop up and goes, don't worry. You stay here. It's getting hot in here. And he takes off with me. And it was just like...
That was like, dude, that's like straight out like 66 Batman. That's brilliant.
Right. It was the weirdest thing. He's like, it's getting hot in here as we chase this arsonist down the street.
Oh,
it was beautiful.
That is beautiful.
And then the other worst, like, comic book, like, just like, holy crap, this is a funny moment is I had gotten stabbed. Right. And I was bleeding, and I'm in my car, and I'd pulled up to my house. Mm-hmm. And I'm about to get out of the house when the neighbor sees me and rolls up to my car. It's like, oh, hey, buddy, how you doing?
Right.
And I have a secret identity.
Yeah.
So
this was before you unmasked.
Hiding behind the glass,
mm-hmm.
right? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. As I'm like bleeding into my car, and I'm like, well, I got to pull into my driveway now. And he's like, hey, did you see the game? And he just kept talking and talking. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you don't look good, man. Are you sick? And I'm like, yeah, I'm real sick.
Time. Yeah. Do you have some Robitussin?
It was
on the stab
really
wound.
Funny.
Oh God. Oh man. That's funny though, man. It's kind of funny. I guess that when you go out there and you do this enough, eventually, even though you don't mean it to, life is going to kind of imitate art when you have those sort of scenarios that happen again. Maybe not always, maybe not all the time, but it seems like it does happen on occasion.
Yeah, I mean, there's weird stuff that happens to me that just part of it is where I put myself,
mm-hmm.
and the other part is, criminals have been wearing disguises since the beginning of time.
That's
like
true.
Superheroes were the response to criminals in disguise.
Right. Pulled right from Alan Moore, man.
Exactly. Like, so it's not weird it's more weird that you meet a guy in a mask while wearing a mask. It's not weird to meet a masked man. If you look up a guy in a mask robbing someone, I mean, there's millions of responses, right?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
The difference is when that guy in a mask robbing someone meets a guy in a mask designed for you not to rob someone. That's when it gets weird. Mm-hmm. So the guy who's making these altercations weird is actually me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. They've got to be taken aback.
Yeah, I've also had like a lot of epic failures of trying to make things comic booky. I mean, like the notorious net gun incident. You know.
Oh, what happened with the net gun incident? I think that was.
I'm running down the street chasing a criminal like super black warp speed down a hill. I hit the net gun. It opens up, but the air resistance is so much it flies back, nets me, rolls me up into a ditch on the side of the road, and I almost drowned in 2 inches of water because I was face down and couldn't put my arms down.
Oh God.
Yeah,
you had a lot. That's right. I seem to recall that you had a lot of haters online that were just any. I mean, they would just watch your every move, and like any little thing that you would do, they would just blow it up. Like, oh, Phoenix has done this week. How's he going to screw it up? And it's like, and I would always just kind of watch in amusement. Like, man, you guys are just looking for anything.
It was weird to me because it was like, if you can spend so much time watching me do shit that's like they weren't watching any of the good stuff. They were watching the bad stuff, right?
Right.
Why didn't you guys do something positive? Like, okay, I netted myself chasing a criminal. What you're missing is that criminal still didn't get away. Mm-hmm. He was robbing someone, dropped the stuff he was robbing and ran down the street. So maybe he got away with that, but the woman got her stuff back. Everyone was fine. The only person who was even remotely in danger was me from drowning in 2 inches of water.
Oh, man. Well, let me ask you this. Since we're on that subject, has there ever been like a night where you've been out there and you've gotten maybe into an altercation or whatever, where you actually felt like your life was in danger?
Yeah. There's been a couple of those, but I mean, moments I can truly remember that I was in a lot of danger, and if it didn't come out one way, I was probably gonna die.
Yeah.
I was down in Belltown, mm-hmm. and I confronted some guys who were selling drugs, and blah blah blah, and they basically were like, "Yo, we're with a lot of people. Don't mess with us. We're connected." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, fuck off." Like I've heard that before, right?
Right.
So the guy moves a little forward. I push him back. He moves forward again. And finally, I just hit him with the pepper spray. Mm-hmm. He goes down. Mm-hmm. And the minute he hits the ground, right?
Right.
This guy who's next to him just takes off running. Mm-hmm. So I start chasing the guy who's running. And I look back. And I'm being chased by like 17 people.
Holy hell.
It's crazy. So I take a left, and the guy takes a left too, and runs into a garage. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I take a left into the garage with him.
You were alone this night, right?
Oh yeah, I was by myself.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I take a left into the garage with him. We get in this garage, and there's no way out, and the 17 guys just stop at the door. And I'm like, holy shit, what am I going to do? And then I realized I'm sitting there hiding behind one of these cars, I pulled out a pepper grenade. Okay. And I'm like, there's a good possibility I'm going to have to grenade this whole room and run through my own pepper club.
Yeah.
But as I'm doing that, the guy who was hiding comes out, and he throws this backpack to them, and they go, "We got the stash." And they start running. And what I realized was the guy I confronted, his friend was the guy who carries all the drugs.
Ooh,
so when he took off running, they were like trying to make sure he wasn't going to steal the drugs. Once he threw him the backpack, everything cooled out real quick. I hid in there for a while, and I let the guy go, but I didn't get murdered in the process, so I kind of consider that a win.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Not getting murdered would probably be better than pursuing the 17 guys, because you may have been a little bit over your head.
That was I wasn't ready.
I remember one time, it was funny. Right around shortly after we did our podcast back in 2012. We had those shootings that happened that year. There was at first the one in Colorado, and then directly thereafter there was the one in Seattle. And then I read about you on the news the next day. Like, you took off in pursuit of the shooting suspect.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. The guy started firing off the shots, and I was maybe 2 blocks out. Mm-hmm. So I came running in super hot, right, from about 2 blocks out. And when I hit the corner, I realized I have made a grave error in my understanding of what's happening here.
Right.
I'm behind the shooter.
Right.
The shooter was shooting. I was basically running from his backside where he was aiming the other direction.
Right.
So I've got no police between me and the shooter at all. It's just me and the guy.
Right.
He was out of bullets, but he turned around and literally clicked off empty rounds at me.
What? Right.
Took off running. I chased around the corner and He ran headfirst into a bicycle cop.
Oh man! So they did catch him.
Yeah, they did catch him, and they maybe wouldn't have caught him without me. It's hard to tell. I think he was going to break left either way, but I definitely kept him going at an honest speed. If he had been any slower, he probably could have avoided the bike cops. So.
Ooh. So then, I mean, like with all that, like in the past 5 years, how has your relationship changed with local law enforcement, or has it? It sounds like it's gotten better. Like I know they were really wary of you at first.
It's way better. I mean, it was like at first they were just like they wouldn't let us do anything, and they were super weird. We got arrested every weekend, and they detained us. And up until like for a good example is last week, they came over and they asked me what the guy did. I told them, and they put him in the cop car. Then they came over to collect the evidence.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I was wrong or lying or whatever, they had no proof. They were just like, "Oh, it's Phoenix." Or a couple weeks before that, we had an incident happen where a guy took off and someone was in a fight, and this guy was trying to say that I did something, and the cop goes over and he goes, "Do you know who that is?" He goes, "That's Phoenix Jones. There's no way he was trying to steal your bag. You should try again." And it was a funny moment.
So, oh man. So it sounds like things are kind of looking up for you. You've been kind of hitting up the conventions as of late. Like, what are you doing out there? Are you just visiting, or I mean, are you doing some work with charities or anything?
Yeah, I mostly do work with charities through this stuff. What I realize is, as Phoenix Jones, I feel like the money's not mine. If you're going to make money as Phoenix Jones, I feel like it needs to almost be a disclaimer. Like I need to let them know ahead of time, hey, I'm making money off this myself, which I don't like.
Right.
I think I want to be above that. I want to be something that I do it because I want to, because I want to help, not because it's lucrative,
Yeah, absolutely.
So when I do Comic-Cons, I'll sign photos and stuff like that, and I always let everybody know what charity it's going to, and then we always just mail it off at the end. Or most of the time we don't even touch it. Most of the time the cash is given to us and we give it straight to the whatever Comic-Con it is. We do that. I've got the Purple Rain campaign, which is over, but we still have a little cash in there, so we give money out when we can. And then I do visits to hospitals and schools and things like that. But I try to keep it all. I recover my own gas for sure, and sometimes I buy the crew lunch if they come with me.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's very respectable. Yeah, if I could ever make it out there to the West Coast, I'll definitely go out there and see. I just haven't made it out there yet.
Man, I know you were trying to come up. When you're ready to come up, you can stay with me, man. Just let me know.
Shit. We'll get to that. I may take you up on that. I mean, because I think there would be nothing cooler for me to do, like a big special where I just go out there and just document, just a day in the life and go out there and walk the streets with you. Just get a little taste for what you do. I think that would be freaking amazing.
Well, one of my sponsors for fighting is Alaska Airlines. I get you discounted tickets if you want to give it a shot, man.
All right. Well, yeah, that'd be great, man. We should definitely look into that. But we'll be in contact on that. But
yeah, of course.
Let me ask you this: like, you put on the suit and you go out there. It's the suit. Once again, I know I've said it once before, but it's the comic book superhero in our own mythology. It's the symbol of bravery, the symbol of morality, selflessness. And you took the name Jones, which is the most common last name in America. So in other words, the last name of your alias means everyman. So
exactly.
So do you feel that you've inspired people to step up? I know
step up is such a hard word.
That's
right?
a tough one. That's a tough one.
Well, it's not a tough one. It's just step up is hard because it implies that people are doing something positive of what I've inspired them to do. Right. Whereas I see a lot of people inspired. Mm-hmm. And they do something where I'm like, wow, I would never do that. I'll give you some great examples. Bee Sting, which he's a superhero from Michigan, I believe, Michigan Protectorate.
Right.
He let me know. He's like, hey, man, you inspired me to fight crime. You're awesome. And then a year later, he gets arrested for patrolling in a trailer park with a shotgun.
Ooh, no.
Right? Or there's a guy called The Beast out of New Jersey, and I talked to him on Facebook for a while, and he said, yeah, you're one of my biggest inspirations, And then he let me know that he thinks he can transform into a beast, and that's why he's called The Beast.
And you're kind of like, superpowers don't exist, buddy.
Right. And he was arrested for growling at a criminal. I mean, he did catch him, but that's weird.
I mean, I suppose it could be intimidating, but albeit a bit weird.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that people don't get is that, like, to a crackhead, I have superpowers.
Sure.
Because, let me rewind.
All right, go ahead.
When you're, do you know what juicing a criminal is?
No.
We made this joke. We call it juicing criminals. So we'll chase them, and when they start to run, we chase right behind them, and when they start to slow down, we get closer, and we let them keep running and kind of reel them in like fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do it long enough, eventually they just throw up.
Okay, I hear you.
Because they smoke too much crack to run that much.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
So
we call it juicing criminals. You just make them pop. Boom.
And then by that point, they just kind of give up.
Oh, yeah. They throw up and they just sit down and they're like, arrest me. And it's hilarious. So we call it juicing criminals, Or nice. I've been doing free running for 3 years now. And I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, and I've got a ton of mixed martial arts fights.
Right.
So if I get into a fight with the average guy, I make them look foolish. It would look like I have superpowers. You might see me run up the side of a building,
Well, I know you guys. You went back to MMA, didn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, I've been doing MMA for a while.
Yeah. So this is. So how often do you fight?
How often
do you fight in MMA?
I fight about every 3 months or so. It really depends. I'm fighting for the world title coming up here soon.
No kidding.
Fighting for the Super Fight League Championship of America up on February 21st. It's live online. You can check it out.
Is there a trailer for it online? I'll post it here.
There's no trailer yet, but it'll be up pretty soon.
I'll find a poster for it and I'll make sure it goes up on this podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a poster on my page. You can't miss it.
Awesome, dude. It's kind of funny you're talking about the other superheroes, and I think if I've seen personas begin popping up since you arrived on the scene, and not just in Seattle, in our and not just in our country, but it's international. Like I know, it's happened in the UK and it's happened in other parts of Europe. Do you think that's something that you kind of started or had something to do with?
Yes and no. I feel like the idea of dressing up in a costume to promote activism has been around for a long time. I mean, if you go back to Fox, he used to dress up and promote, animal rights. Or, Captain Sticky used to dress up and yell out of a loudspeaker outside apartment buildings until they turned the power back on,
Yeah.
There's been guys doing it forever. I was the pioneer of saying, I'm going to go out and find bad guys.
Right.
And I'm going to take them down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, until me, no one had done it on a believable scale.
Right.
I mean, because I'm not just doing it like it's not an accident. I'm not just out in a superhero suit and then I see something and it happens. I'm like, Dateline wants to follow me around? No problem. Why don't we come with me for 4 days and we'll stop a crime and I will put a criminal in jail in those 4 days.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the difference.
That's awesome, man. And let me just, I think that if you take nothing else away from this conversation between myself and Phoenix, whether or not you agree with what he does, whether you think he's a hero or whether you just think he's, some guy in a suit, just know that one person can step up and change things around you, and you don't have to be a person that goes out and changes the world. You just change the world around you. I think that's mostly what you try to promote, is just make your community a better place. If you can, donate money. If you don't have money, go volunteer, because there's a hell of a lot more to fight out there besides crime. So
exactly, you nailed it. I mean, the funny thing is, I think the debate about whether I'm a hero is always hilarious to me, right?
Right.
Because to me, the bigger debate is, have I made an impact? And the fact that you're debating it means I made an impact.
Yeah.
Period.
It's enough for you to have a conversation about it.
Exactly. Like my wrestling coach, he always used to yell at us. He used to yell, impact everything. Do you see that? I want you to impact everything. I want to take down, impact on the floor. I want you to sprawl, impact. And it's funny because I've lived my whole life that way.
Yeah.
When I saw superheroes, I said, you know what? I'm going to make an impact. And I'm people can say what they want, but I am the best real life superhero in the world by numbers.
You're definitely the most recognizable.
It's not arrogance. It's just by numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would agree to that. You're definitely the most recognizable.
But I mean, even if you go further than that, like recognizable, I'm the most recognizable. Yeah. But then I wanted to see what people were doing for donations wise. And there's, Hope is a big event in California where people donate food to the homeless. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, my donations alone to the Seattle's Union Gospel Mission and the food drives I've done here beat Hope in numbers by 5 times the amount. Then I went and looked at criminal arrests. There's 26 arrests in the superhero community by other superheroes other than me. 10 of them are from a team I trained that I'm no longer affiliated with. Right. So there's really 16. Mm-hmm. And I have over 312, I think, that are confirmable. Wow. So it's like the numbers aren't even close.
Right. You're definitely the most active out there by those numbers. And and real quick, just to to kind of switch it over a little bit, are there some charities that you're involved in that you kind of want to give a shout out to while I've got you here?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Check out in Seattle, Penny's Place. It's a cool place for domestic violence victims. They can go there, and then they get help, and they get sent off to a place that their abusers don't know about.
Okay.
And then those guys give them an advocate and help them, cancel their apartments, move where they're moving, even if it comes as far as getting out of a car lease and getting a new car that the guy doesn't recognize.
Right.
It's really, really cool. And it's one of the only domestic violence shelters where men can go there and get sent to a different place and get help to break the cycle of actually abusing women.
Oh, okay. So, so some guy comes up and says, hey, I have a problem. I'm an abuser, and I really need to get help to reform and change. This is the place where they would go.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, because, most places are get away from the guy. And I'm like, well, that's true, but
that guy is still out there,
just abusing someone else.
And he'll just do it to somebody else, exactly. Cool, Penny's Place. All right, so I'll look up the website, and I'll post it. I'll post it to this podcast.
Yeah, it's on northwestfamilylife.com.
All right, northwestfamilylife.com.
Yep, that's the main, parent group. Impact Law Group, not a charity, but they have helped me get out of 42 cases now. I've had over 90-something counts of assault put on me and never been convicted.
Yeah, you needed a lawyer on retainer, buddy.
Exactly, but she does it for me for free because she loves comic books, and her husband's a comic book writer.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, so a shout out to Duffy. Duffy D'Amata writes comic books. I think he goes for Image. And Caitlin is my lawyer, so a little shout out to those guys.
Did he have anything to do with the Phoenix Jones comic book that was released?
No, that was a short comic book for kids, for kids in the hospital.
Oh, very cool, man.
Yeah, it was connected to the Kids in the Hospital comic book thing. It was pretty cool though. I liked it. It was entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, one day, really soon, we're going to have to get together, man. I know last summer I wanted to make it out there. I didn't get a chance to make it out to Seattle, but I'd like to go out there and follow you on patrol and meet you, see what you do, and if I am feeling particularly brave, maybe I'll let you take me to the gym.
It's one of those things where, you had to go. You went on a little pilgrimage recently. You were
it was kind of my post. It was my
life's
post-divorce.
getting kind of weird. I'm gonna, go out and figure out what's going on. You kind of drove around for a while.
Yeah, I drove up to NYC and kind of, and actually Seattle was where I wanted to go, but I couldn't get the time off of work. So that was going to be my last stop before I drove back, but I wanted to drive across the country, come up there. There was a number of other places I wanted to go, but I wanted to stop up there and see you for a couple of days and then drive back. I just wasn't able to make it. I wasn't able to get the time I needed.
Word. But my life crumbled literally a little bit after that. So you had a small window, and I've just now gotten to a place where I feel like I'm able to really dedicate and focus some time back. After my divorce, I was a little crazy for a while.
I mean, it drives us all crazy, man. I know that you spoke to me shortly after my divorce, and you said something to the effect of God, man, I just don't know if I could pull through if I were in your place. And it turns out these things happen, and you do have to dig down and find the strength. And it sounds like you did, but it just takes time, brother.
If I can give any married person out there advice, don't let your wife go to Burning Man. Nothing good happens there.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
Oh, and there's no reason your best friend should ever hang out with your wife without you there.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to second that, because that also has a big reason to do with why I'm no longer married. So
he's comforting. He already knows what's going on in our relationship.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no.
No.
Married guys, you're like, oh no, it's cool. We're friends. They're friends and friends with their wife. No. You know what? Just don't do it.
Yeah, you're good. I don't need no purple wearing pants people up in my house.
Sounds like we've been through a lot of the same.
Yes, a lot of the same things, which is kind of crazy because you figure as being a superhero, there's certain things you wouldn't have to worry about. But apparently, I guess I'm wrong.
You know what, man? Happens to the best of us, but I'm glad you were able to pull through.
Definitely, yeah. Oh, you know what? We forgot the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Oh, yeah, Ice Bucket Challenge. We'll go ahead and we'll touch on that, and then we'll go ahead and bring it to a close. All right, tell me a little bit about the Ice Bucket Challenge.
So a bunch of people were donating money, doing the Ice Bucket Challenge.
In case you were under a rock and you have no idea what the hell it was something that was going on. It was for charity. It was for a good cause, but basically everybody did it. Where you would dump an ice bucket of water on your head, or else donate money. Right.
Here's the thing I didn't get though: is they lost in the middle of it. They kind of lost what the purpose of the Ice Bucket Challenge was. It's because the disease hurts. It feels like if your body was to just get super cold and those little spinies that happen that shoot like shivers of pain through your body.
Yes.
That's what they were talking about with the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's where it came from. So I thought people had lost the meaning of that a little bit. So I was like, what can I do that illustrates how bad it would be to get ALS, right?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, I know where this is going. It's go ahead.
So I donated $100. I think I donated $20, 20, $40, something like that. And then I got a kiddie pool, filled it up with ice and water. And then I dumped a bucket of water and ice over my head. Then I got shot by a taser and tried to fight the tase and not fall into a bucket of water, potentially electrocuting me.
Oh, God. All right.
How'd that go? I didn't fight the tase. As a matter of fact, it definitely worked.
Yeah. Ooh. So you fell in, and then what?
Fell into a bucket of water, nearly got electrocuted. It's pretty rough. If you watch the video, like my feet are twitching outside the water, like it's sure pretty rough.
If it's available and I find it, it'll probably be rolling right about the time we're talking about this. So they'll probably
it's got like 700,000 views on it. You can't miss it.
Okay. Jesus. All right, man, dude, it is always, it's been 3 years, and it is just always a pleasure every time I get to sit down and talk to you, man. There's never a dull moment. I'm never bored sitting down talking to you, man. You're that one friend that it doesn't matter if I saw you, talk to you 3 years ago or 3 hours ago. You've got something interesting to say to me, man. And for that, thank you so much.
Hey, wait, well, before we go here, can I get, you're still single, right?
Yeah.
All right, we got to give you a shout out. Any girls listening to this podcast right now, if you're listening to this podcast, it's because you like the same shit. So maybe you should get a hold of him. I'm currently already dating someone who's pretty awesome. So, I'm off the line. But yeah, Doolin's a good guy. He's Phoenix Jones endorsed. The only thing is don't be one of those weird, like mechanic, metalhead weird girls.
No, don't be a steampunk girl.
Yeah, steampunk's not cool. If you think it's cool, it's not. Like, I'd rather you dress up like Pikachu, all right? Like, at least at one point, I loved Pikachu. I've never loved steampunk. Don't do it. It's bad. And if you like steampunk, you probably need to see the sun. Maybe a tan, all right? Stay safe.
Brilliant words. Thank you so much for joining me today, Phoenix. For Welcome to Nerdtopia, I'm Doolin Dalton.
And I'm Phoenix Jones.
And thanks for nerding out with us, guys. Have a good night. And so there you have it. A conversation with a man. His story, pulled from something out of the pages of a comic book. Seemingly too fictitious to be real, but yet somehow is. Some look at Phoenix Jones and see a troubled individual. Some see a man in a costume defending his city and view him as a larger-than-life superhero. I look at this man, and I see a person who has decided to take a stand, to defend himself and others against crime, against abuse, against corruption. I see an activist using a symbol in hopes to inspire those around them to do something, to get out there and make their community a better place. We live in dark times, my friends. Our government is slowly coming apart, and some would say that our once great nation has lost its way. Poverty is on the rise, we lack the resources to sustain our society, and police corruption is at an all-time high. And yet, most all of us can seem to do is place a phone or tablet in our faces for several hours a day and get caught up in our own little worlds. Our own problems, the things that don't affect anybody else's lives but our own. And yes, you can scoff at the idea of a man who wears a costume and patrols the streets night after night fighting crime. Or you can take a moment and be inspired and get up and go do something. A superhero is larger than life. Not because of the power he wields, but because he gives selflessly to others. In between the pages of graphic novels bound by glue, you'll find tales of heroes that constantly, ceaselessly defend others. Not for a paycheck, not for personal gain, but because of one simple reason. They care. And in a world where we've stopped caring about one another, what's so bad about that? What's so bad about someone who cares and wants to inspire others to do the same? Someone once said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And if nothing else, isn't that worth believing? Isn't that worth fighting for? For welcome to Nerdtopia, I'm Doolin Dalton. Thanks for nerding out with me, guys. Have a good night.